Hello, my name is Robbie Fitzwater. I own and operate Marketing Rhythm. We help e-commerce businesses with retention marketing, mainly a lot of email and SMS marketing. One of the things we talk about all the time, and something we feel really passionate about, is actually customer lifecycle marketing. And when we talk about lifecycle marketing, there's a lot of different ways to describe it, but basically lifecycle marketing is a way for us as marketers to reach and influence our audience at different times along their buying journey as a way of interacting with them at the first touch point, and then ideally helping to guide them and hold their hand and walk them through that purchasing decision. And once they've made that purchasing decision, maintaining that relationship over time so we can hopefully get them back in the door consistently. Again, as we talk about, we focus primarily on retention marketing. We focus on getting people back in the door. That's where we really specialize, and that's what we really love doing. And we do a lot of that through content marketing. So when we're doing those things and kind of like creating that behavior we want to see, it gives us a lot of unique opportunities, as you can imagine from the email side. But basically, we have a few things we like to think about before we typically go into like nuts and bolts of bringing this to life. And for businesses thinking about how do I start approaching customer lifecycle marketing, we want you to kind of look at your customer journey and look at your product and business offering through the lens of what is going to make this valuable for the end user, and also what things are they going to need along the way. So when we think about customer journey and customer lifecycle, before somebody purchases, depending on how expensive or how risky that person perceives that decision being, the more information and the more support they're going to need along the way. So if I'm buying a pack of Band-Aids, I may need like one or two sources of information. If I'm buying a car, I'm probably going to need like 18 or more sources of information because it's such a high investment in that product and because there's so much risk associated with that. So I want to be able to understand like what is the goals of that person making the decision, and then what risks and challenges do they see associated with it. Basically, the whole goal of this is to take somebody from problem aware to solution aware, from solution aware to product aware, and from product aware to actually making a decision, and then eventually like how are they actually using the product and getting the most out of the product, so they were going to be loyal long-term repeat customers. And when we can do that effectively, we can basically onboard them and create the customers we want to see, and it gives us a really unique position to be able to take leaps forward and essentially basically we're moving them up that audience hierarchy. It's just that we've talked about before in our audience hierarchy strategy, but it's basically just in a little bit different way and a little bit different way of looking at this. It's in a little bit more linear pattern depending on what somebody needs along that journey. So if we take our audience hierarchy, we can kind of map that to our customer lifecycle really well, where we're taking somebody from a prospect to a again engaged user, to a customer, to a valuable customer with a high lifetime value. Basically, what that customer lifecycle marketing does for us too is it allows us to maximize the lifetime value of that customer and really start to think about what are we going to need along the way so we can support them in making that final decision. What makes email such a powerful tool here is that it basically like, hey, we can suddenly reverse engineer all of that and get the right message to the right person at the right time based on the data we have, so we can give them the tools they need along the way that are going to be relevant and contextual for them at every stage, so we can really ideally maximize those opportunities so we can hopefully help them in unique ways and drive revenue in the same time. So it's really kind of the way that we get to like align the stuff we want them to see at the right times, at the right stage of their journey. From the email perspective, it offers a lot of unique opportunities for marketing automation and SMS automation. So again, what are the stages? We typically use a few different models for this, but basically the stages we actually broke out. Like sometimes we talk about reach, sometimes we call it awareness. We actually broke out the second stage into two pieces. We kind of like these two pieces for this example because from a B2B standpoint, I think there's a lot of value in engagement and evaluation. But the reason we did that is because I think there's some nuances to each of those that we want to kind of touch on. But basically, these stages of customer lifecycle marketing: awareness, engagement, evaluation, purchase, support, and then loyalty. Basically, all of those are what somebody needs along the journey, and we're going to serve each one of those functions a little bit differently, but we're going to look at them holistically within that customer journey and how we can support them along the way. So when we talk about awareness, That's that top of the funnel first touch when they become, again, problem aware to like basically taking somebody from problem aware to possibly solution aware. It may be the first time they see an Instagram ad. That's typically that top of the funnel touch point that typically is going to be, again, where they first, again, make contact with your brand. Engagement is going to be basically where they're going a little bit deeper, starting to do some research, but again, essentially you're trying to get them a little bit deeper into that brand or into that research phase of their journey. The evaluation phase is going to be a little bit deeper too, where they're actually comparing like one product to the next product. Basically, they move from problem aware to solution aware, and then their work evaluations where they're working to go from problem aware to solution aware to product aware. And basically they're evaluating their different options, and then eventually they're going to move to purchase, where they actually make that commitment to make a purchase. Support is actually going to be that first touch, those first touches after they make that decision, and how well the product fulfills the need, how well they're able to use it and leverage it, how well they're able to like incorporate it into their other processes and systems. And then loyalty is going to be how long they're going to continue to use it for. Are they going to rebuy it? Are they going to continue to find value in it? And how much are they going to essentially enjoy the product and tell their friends? But basically the stages of this from the email perspective, we're going to kind of like work to unpack those for you. So content marketing really helps here because it allows us to connect the right content at the right time for the right person. So we get to connect the content with the context of that person's journey, which gives us a unique perspective there, because when we can connect content with context, like that's an easy win, and that's what it becomes a real differentiator for us. So when we're thinking about these, as we look at awareness is that first stage. Typically, this is not going to be where we use email. Like email is not going to be the strongest place to actually start to gain awareness. Ideally here, you're creating demand. This is the top of the marketing funnel. You may be working to create demand or have that first touch point through like Facebook ads or social ads. Basically here is going to be where somebody may not be searching for something, and then again, hopefully creating that spark in their mind. So influencer marketers may be a good person here because again, they're ideally helping us create demand for a specific product or service. But basically, if we're taking awareness, we're essentially there's actually is one way. There is one or two ways for brands to do this through email. But through email, I guess brand collaborations or partnering with other brands to piggyback off audiences. We see this sometimes with like, hey, this is a bundle product that you can, like one complementary product may sell with another complementary product. That's a really unique way to build awareness for your product at the top of the funnel through email. But it's not necessarily, you don't necessarily want to be buying lists. Like this is just bad hygiene, bad practice to be doing that. So don't buy lists. Don't plan on email being your top of the funnel tool all the time. Use it for collaborations, use it for other stages. But basically at the awareness stage, you're also going to be wanting to collect data. So when somebody actually is aware of your product and starts to start moving from awareness to that engagement phase, you want to be able to start to hopefully collect that data. So basically when they move to engagement, they're basically moving from, again, problem aware to solution aware. And again, once they're on your site, you want to be able to collect information about them. So you have to really understand what they're going to value and how can we ideally add value to them to a place where they're going to ideally, again, give value to us through offering their data. Everybody has, again, understanding this is a transaction here, it's really helpful to be able to offer something good or something valuable. So like for a B2B business, we may be offering a white paper or an exclusive report or access to something they may not have access to. So we're offering something of value to them that's unique and different. For a B2C business, we may be having an exclusive offer. We may have access to, again, a new product that's rolling out or specific insights around our product offering. See a lot of businesses doing cool things like quizzes and essentially like helping you like guide your own journey to find the right product for you is a really easy way of collecting that email, but also offering a lot of value there. Octane AI is a really great tool for that, something like that. But basically that engagement phase, from an email perspective, we really want to start to be collecting that data and hopefully using that data to leverage in keeping that audience engaged. And also in that engagement phase, we want to start to be able to kind of communicate with them and add value beyond the transaction, so we can, again, develop a use case for the product, develop a need for the product, and also start to build our argument for why ours is the best or why we are the best service provider for this. Moving from engagement to, again, evaluation. Again, engagement may be more like high level, like why the product is needed, how it works, why people like it, and so on and so forth, and make them feel excited, get them on board with it. Hopefully, I used to always like talk about this. It's like help them see the future that's ahead of them and what value you're going to provide to them in that future, what that future state or that outcome is going to look like. And then evaluation stage is where you want to start to talk about, hey, we're moving from product aware to making a decision. And how do we help them make a decision? How do we hold their hand and walk them through that decision-making process? And understanding, basically, are we going to compare our product to other products? Are we going to help them understand if they are or are not a good fit for our product or service? And basically, we're working to build confidence in them making a decision with our product or brand. So in here, reviews, return policy, free shipping are going to be all really helpful things to help them make and evaluate our brand, because those are also going to reverse the risk they feel in making that decision. Also, like comparisons, like our brand versus their brand, comparisons are really helpful in, like, again, selecting one product over the other. Once we do this and we work through this really well, we make people feel confident. And if we can hold their hand along that journey, we're moving them from awareness to, again, engagement to evaluation, and then eventually we're going to be ending up in purchase or conversion. So this is where, again, we're trying to reinforce that confidence that they're going to feel in purchasing from us. So again, that return policy, free shipping, and then social proof through reviews, really helpful, and maybe even social proof through user-generated content. But our email automations and SMS automations also really help in this stage too. Basically, like, we've worked to lay the foundation for that purchase and make that purchase as frictionless and smooth as possible in the, again, engagement and awareness and the evaluation stages. So hopefully this is not going to be a hang up or a speed bump, but if it is, that's where for email and SMS our abandoned cart automations come in, our added to cart automations come in, and that's where this will really help to us to kind of like take them and hopefully get them over the finish line in that product decision or that purchasing decision, so they're ideally going to be driving the revenue we want to see. Because again, essentially, before they purchase a product, all they're buying is our marketing, and we want to be doing good marketing. But once we're able to actually get it in their hands, this is when we can actually start to do some of the really great stuff and move from, again, the conversion and purchase to support. And support is really attractive to us. This is where we are like, okay, our retention efforts really start with that first digital touch point, because that's really setting a precedence and that's really setting us up for success in the long term. We want to ideally onboard and create the customers we want to see. But this support phase is really unique because this is where we help people, again, like move from decision to evaluation. And in that evaluation stage is we're helping them like basically like use the product and find the most value out of it. So from a retention standpoint, this is probably one of the most important stages, is because they're actually going to be starting to use the product, and hopefully we want to be able to help them use the product best. So they're going to ideally purchase again from us or purchase a complementary product in addition, because that lifetime value is what we're looking to bump up here. But supporting with information that can help them find the most value in the product they purchase is what we're really going to be looking for here. We always look at some cool examples of this in the software space, like SaaS businesses or on the B2B side are really gangsters at this, because they understand we may not be revenue positive in that first transaction, but the lifetime value of that customer is going to be so high that we want to just prevent churn, because if they're purchasing on a monthly recurring basis, that's where we're going to have that consistent subscription-based revenue where it's predictable, exciting, because it gives us a really solid baseline. So basically, how are we able to kind of onboard them on that product? And we always like to think about how we would walk through this from the e-commerce perspective, but how to help your team use the software product. As an example, like we basically want to be sharing content that's going to be helping them support that decision, like how to integrate this XYZ software with your existing systems, like how to like onboard them and make them help find value. Like there's going to be a lot of stuff that really helps them along the way to make sure they're utilizing the systems optimizing the systems and doing everything they need to make sure they're finding as much value in it as possible. Especially on the B2B side, there may be different stakeholders you need to address. This is where you can do a lot of different things with content too. And on the B2C side, the e-commerce side, the groups that we work with typically, it's like, hey, how do we make sure that we get the best experience possible from the product, and understand, hey, B2C, how do we, like if I'm a coffee brand, how do I grind my coffee beans? If I'm a running shoe business, like how to clean and care for your running shoes, what are complementary products that go along with your product or service? And the more context here, the better. So the more contextual we can get, the better experience they're going to have at the end of the day. And that's why we're collecting pretty contextual data on the front end, so we can onboard them, engage them with content that's going to be super relevant to them on the front end, and then also use it on the back end too. So if we can also find that from that purchasing data too. So if I'm I'm a children's clothing company, and somebody purchases in the 0 to 3 month category, like I know, hey, if that person is purchasing that category, what content am I going to need to get them afterwards? It's going to be content around like how to dress your infant for bed. What are my go-to outfits for every infant? Or like how many onesies does my infant need? Those things are going to be super relevant for those parents because again, they're super in line with their purchasing. But also, if I have a toddler, I don't care what infants need to wear to bed. Like I don't care. I've already been through that stage. Like I need toddler information. So the more relevant contextually you can get that information, the better, and that's what's going to perform best for you in your lifecycle automations. And that's where these can be really cool, is because if we can get really narrow in our focus, we can do a lot of really good work in communicating the value of what our product offers, but also what our supplementary product offering offers too. So like if they purchase a onesie or a few onesies, never just purchase one onesie. It's typically mini purchase in a bundle. But basically, like, hey, if they purchase a onesie, like, oh yeah, here's the sleeping options we have. Here's the sleeper options we have. This is why, again, XYZ infant needs this sleeper, because this is going to be helpful for them. You don't have to zip it up. You just like roll it up. It's easy. So those are things that you can be thinking about in terms of, hey, how do I support them along that journey? And then that post-purchase sequence or that post-purchase process, how do I make sure they're using the product as best as possible? Then in that long-term relationship building, this is where we focus a lot of our time and attention through campaigns. So we talked about, again, kind of like where this fits into our like email marketing ecosystem. So that awareness stage, like we're building our audience, and that's kind of where this is going to fit into into the grand scheme of things. We're building our audience and we're actually collecting data on the front end. Then in that engagement and evaluation stage, that's going to be through our automation. So we have that one-to-one connection where we can ideally know what they're going to need at each different stage, and that's what our welcome sequence and our like browse abandon and our other sequences are going to do. Is that pre-purchase phase, we're going to hopefully be bringing them in and hopefully helping them make a decision. Also, our browse abandon and our abandoned cart are probably going to be segmented differently based on people that have purchased 0 times and people that have purchased before, so they're not just redundant or not valuable. And then again, our automations are going to function as a support phase. And then where our campaigns really shine is in this, like, again, loyalty and retention phase. So we're trying to basically add value beyond the transaction here, and we're keeping them engaged. So when we can keep them engaged, we're adding value to a longer term relationship. And then basically this is where we can show our expertise in different ways at different times and understand how we can add value to different segments along the course of that journey. So where campaigns really shine here is like where they can add value contextually to that end user. And we think of like on the B2B side, we're thinking like, hey, like how do I get organized? If you're a B2B business, like how to get your team organized for the new year, how to prep your tax filings early, how to like include what metrics to include in your quarterly reports. All those things are going to be something that are going to be valuable for those end users that you can be thinking about, and they're going to be super relevant contextually and seasonally. So again, you're not going to be thinking about tax reporting in August necessarily. So again, that's not necessarily the best time to be doing that, but you want to be understanding what's on the mind of your customer at that given time of the year. What are their problems? What are their challenges? And how do we help them solve them? And then for the B2C side, like where the e-commerce business, where our e-commerce clients are going to fit in, like how to stay fit when you can't ride outside, how to stay hydrated in the winter, how to guide a guide to summer riding gear. All those things are going to be super relevant, super contextual. They give you a reason to, again, communicate and add value beyond the transaction through content, where you're giving them a reason to engage with your brand, but you're also giving yourself a Trojan horse in the way of, here are some new summer riding kits, here are our new summer running shoes, or here is our new summer hydration bundle. All of those things are going to be super helpful for us to kind of again, maintain that rhythm of connection, but it allows us to build that longer term loyalty where we're building a relationship over time. It's not just like a sprint, excited, jump on board. It's just, again, longer term relationship. And then this is where that real, again, retention rubber meets the road and where that real magic happens. And if we know if it does well through a campaign, then we can also automate it too. So if our campaigns perform well, we can turn it into an automation. And that's where that content creation and iteration process really optimizes itself. And that's where we can really thrive. So this is kind of how we think about the customer lifecycle, how we're constantly tweaking and changing it based on what that customer may need. We can run experiments in our automations here too. But basically, the better we can understand that customer's lifecycle, the better we can understand the problems and solutions we offer, the problems they have along the way, and the way we can help them solve those problems. And the better we hold their hand and help them make a decision and feel confident in that decision, the better we're going to be able to serve them in the long term. And that's why we get really in depth in that customer lifecycle marketing, is because we can do really unique customized work, and again, connect the right person with the right message, the right content, the right time. And that's what really makes us powerful, because we know definitively, hey, this is how we can add a lot more value than our competitors. And again, Amazon can't do this. Amazon doesn't know the life cycle of every single customer in every category the same way we do. So we can really do some unique work here. And again, this is where also knowing your customer really well helps play a large role too. So again, it gives us an excuse to have a running dialogue with our audiences. So again, we dive really deep into customer lifecycle marketing. This is where one of the topics we really love. This is, again, something we feel passionate about. So we, again, love building these and working through these problems with clients. So if you guys have anything that you had questions on, or we missed anything, again, we always want feedback. We're always looking for feedback and context on this. So let me know. Again, add a comment below, comment on our blog. There's lots of different places we want to hear from you. And again, if you have more questions, let us know. And also, you can subscribe to these videos, because again, if you want to hear me ranting every once in a while, it's probably helpful, or it could be helpful, maybe. But if nothing else, this is Robbie Fitzwater, and we'll see you guys around. Bye-bye.